Okay, so this is the second lecture I'm recording for you guys. And for this one, I'm looking at this handout that I distributed in class, what feels like months or possibly years ago. Um, so it's the grammar and syntax workshop. And yeah, if you have the handout in front of you, great. If you just want to grab a notebook to take notes, or you can just watch and follow along. So this might take a few minutes. I'm not sure, like, because there are quite a few concepts to be learned from this handout, which is why I compiled it. It's pretty important. So please write this down. What you're going to learn talking through these student examples is quotation integration, identifying and resolving comma splices, mixed constructions, sentence fragments, and then strong paragraph development. So, the first question I had asked you, and so maybe you had a chance to look at this on your own. That's great. What could be improved about the way quotations are integrated in this passage? So, which I think is a good passage, by the way. This is all from your writing, from your first papers, close reading papers. Based on, quote, in darkness and amid the many shapes of joyless daylight, which is a line from the poem, it shows depression of his mood. But his mood switches to positive after being in this beautiful landscape. The place recalls the memory from the former years. He is able to sense the beauty of nature better this time as a mature person. It also shows the maturity and perspective a person accomplished in 5 years. Furthermore, while here I stand, not only with the sense of present pleasure, but with pleasing thoughts, that in this moment there is life and food for future years. He is not going to forget this memory in his enjoyment. The beauty of original nature gives him a spiritual gift that he is never going to be able to return. The view of nature is able to change his value to the world. This place helps him to escape from the city. So what I really like about this passage is there's a lot of strong analysis. So it's a problem when you just throw in a quotation and don't explain it. Don't prove to me as a reader that you actually understand what's going on. And so this is talking about William Wordsworth's A Few Miles Lines Pose a Few Miles Above Tintern Abbey, as you recall. But if we're thinking about how to integrate quotations into our discussion, what's happening? Oh, I hope I can, yeah, great. I can actually alter the document. So what I would do here is I can tell the student is trying to integrate the quote so it's not just dropped, which is another problem. If you drop a quote, drop quotation means that you just haven't even tried to integrate into punctuation in your own prose. So I can tell the student is trying to by sort of throwing in this word furthermore, but it still comes across as a bit clunky because the test for whether a quotation is integrated well is if we take out the quotation marks, does it still make grammatical sense? And it kind of doesn't. So here's the change I would make. Okay, I would something, this is a little rough, but I might say something like, he observes, while here I stand, and now we have the quote, not only with a sense of present pleasure, and then I think I mentioned in class you have to show you have to somehow show that there are line breaks. So this backslash works for that. When you have a quote that's less than 4 lines long, you can still keep it within, the regular margins of your paper, but you need to show where the line ends. So here's the backslash, but with pleasing thoughts. Okay, I'm actually not totally sure where the rest of the line is here. I'd have to go back to the text, but my point is make sure you know where the line ends and use the backslash to show that in this, okay, I think it probably is here because I can tell the capitalization. But pleasing thoughts that in this, I don't know, moment there's life and food for future years. So now, we have this verb that shows that you're introducing something, and then you need line numbers. So I'm just going to make this up. You don't actually, or I don't require you to say L. You can just, okay, well, I guess best practice is you should do that. And then just end the sentence. So now you've integrated it and you don't want to have grammatical issues. So just start a new sentence. He is not going to forget this memory and this enjoyment. Another thing that you can do is use a colon. So if you, I don't know if this is a very good um, example for that. So, but sometimes if you want to just not include a verb, you could sort of, the colon can be used to set up a quotation. So you see what I did there. It's not like the best example, but just so you know, if you don't exactly know how to smoothly iron the quote into your prose, you can kind of lazily throw in a colon and that resolves the problem. Okay, this is probably going to take a while, isn't it, to talk through all of these complex issues, so I may have to break this video in half. So, anyone figure out what this error is? Unfortunately, you can't answer me on the webcam. So, I've this is such a common error that, you know, I have like 5 or 6 examples from your writing. Everyone does this. In fact, it's like something we do all the time when we're texting. You just throw a comma in between two independent clauses, which is what's known as a comma splice. So kudos to you if you figured out what it is. So what's a comma splice? People are living and spending their time in a lot of things, and they forget about the beauty that is around them. Well, when you read it aloud, like I'm doing now, you sort of realize that you could have a period here, that in fact, this first bit is an independent clause. And you test for that by, you should be able to identify a main subject and a main verb. So the main subject, well, actually, it's better to look for the verb first. The main verb is are, or are living, and the subject of are is people. So people are living and spending their time in a lot of things, and then there's a secondary clause here. They forget about the beauty that is around them. So you could put a period here, and it would be a full sentence, right? You're all nodding. You follow me on this. It's so close to them, but they don't enjoy it. This thing is nature. So again, this clause here could actually be a full sentence. It's an independent clause. It is the subject, is the verb. So actually this single sentence could be split into 3 separate sentences, which means there are in fact two comma splices at play. So a comma splice is when you just splice 2 independent clauses, that is like possible full sentences, with just a comma, and don't add any other additional words or punctuation. So you may have learned this in 201, but if you are really insistent, okay, just for simplicity, I'm going to take this out. If you're really insistent, I'm getting a phone call. This is a mess. I'm sorry, but yeah, just a sec. Okay, I'm gonna have to get through this comma splice bit and then I'll give you a break because this is too much. So, independent clause, you may have learned this in 201, but you can, if you really want to keep the comma around, you can do that, but you have to keep the comma and then what's known as a coordinating conjunction. And the acronym for this is fanboys. So you might all know this, but that means that there are certain words you can use here. So for, and, nor, boy, but, or, yet, or so. So you can choose one of these words to resolve the comma splice if you want to keep the comma. So what would make the most sense here? People are living and spending their time in a lot of things, and they forget about the beauty that is around them. And I mean, or maybe, yeah, I guess and makes the most sense, but it isn't great, is it? What I would do is I would turn this into a semicolon, which is a conversation for another day. But if you really want to keep it, don't worry too much about the meaning here. You want an and because the two sides don't contrast each other. I wonder if I could really quick find a Sonnet 1, written by Philip Sidney, is voicing that love could conquer anything. Again, you could turn this into a period, and it would be a full sentence, so it's a comma splice. Whatever the heart desires will be no match in reaching what you want or who you want to have it with. um, I guess, and again, but you could use a semicolon here to resolve the comma splice. So a semicolon is sort of like a soft period when the two sides of the sentence are close enough that you want to show that they're a little bit woven together, but still distinct enough that you need to show some separation. Okay, so 10 minutes, first two bits of this handout. I'm going to have to record a second part for you guys. But if you didn't understand any of that, please, you could rewatch or write down a question to let me know because, yeah, it's confusing for me to lecture without getting student feedback. Thanks for watching.